To ICC.
Harun to ICC.
Harun to ICC.
Adam Usman to ICC.
Adam Usman to ICC.
Adam Usman to ICC.
Adam Usman to ICC.
Adam Usman
Adam Usman
to ICC.
to ICC.
Down, down, Adam Usman.
Down, down, Adam Usman.
قاتل قاتل علي عثمان.
قاتل قاتل علي عثمان.
قاتل قاتل يا عثمان.
قاتل قاتل يا عثمان.
إرهابي إرهابي يا عثمان.
إرهابي إرهابي يا عثمان.
أنت قاتل يا عثمان.
قاتل يا عثمان.
إرهابي يا عثمان.
قاتل يا عثمان.
قاتل قاتل يا عثمان.
قاتل قاتل يا عثمان.
الجحيم 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 يا كيزان.
إلى 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 الجحيم يا كيزان.
الخطاب اللي نحن كتبناه ورسلناه لجهات
قال لي ولا مضرت الحفاية امبارح قال لي مبالغ قال لي تقول لك سنة قال لي جاي يقول لك
يمشي في الآخر.
لا طبعا
We, the Sudanese Canadian community of BC, are writing to you, the Honorable Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. We are writing to you as concerns Sudanese Canadian citizens about the grave human rights situation, unprecedented violence and extreme brutality have been inflicted by the Islamic dictatorship regime and its militia against protesters in the Sudan. In this sense, we strongly believe that we share the same Canadian values and principles that work and serve for human rights, democracy worldwide, and justice. In this context, we would like to bring to your attention the latest developments of turmoil in the Sudan. In the wake of mass peaceful protests and demonstrations that have erupted in many cities and locations across Sudan since December 19, 2018, and continue to protest until they reach the target. The demise of Islamic dictatorship and hence Sudanese people are determined with high degree of patriotism to rebuild a new Sudan with sustainable constitution that is based on freedom, peace, justice, and democracy. The bloody regime has not only engaged in using electric sticks and tear gas to disperse demonstrators, but also resort to the use of live bullets against the peaceful protesters, whereas till now 40 protesters or more have lost their lives. Additionally, the rogue regime engaged in a round of brutality detentions of political activists and journalists, where now hundreds of protesters apprehended in its notorious detention centers and cells. Also, the dictatorship has perpetually engaged in an aggressive suppression of the press through repeated confiscation of several newspapers and mistreatment of journalists. These countrywide peaceful demonstrations have come out to protest the corruption and mismanagement of the regime that had led to the latest usher measure intact in the government to 2018 general budget, which have led to acute shortages, high rate of inflation, and unimaginable skyrocketing prices of very basic commodities such as bread, fuel, and medicine and drugs. Even though within all these days, the peaceful protesters and masses have displayed civilized peaceful marches, which are an activity sanctioned by the country's constitution. However, the regime resorted with utter violence and oppression, including torture and killing. It is not worthy to mention that this excessive record has characterized the Islamic regime since they came to power in 1989 through a military coup. To maintain complete control of power, they sacked tens of thousands of qualified professionals and replaced them by unqualified candidates who have similar ideological orientation. The bloody regime continued to commit war crimes, genocide and ethnic cleansing crimes, and human rights violation and abuse, manipulating Islamic slogans. Even after the warrant assurance, the President of Sudan, assurance of the International Criminal Court, ICC, against General Bashir in 2009, the President of Sudan. In these apathy wars, hundreds of thousands of civilians, including elderly, children, and women, were killed, and around 3 million people fled their homes as refugees in neighbors countries, and indeed some of us end here in Canada. Honorable Prime Minister, we urge you and the federal government to explicitly demonstrate your support to the people of Sudan by condemning the violent actions and demanding Sudan rogue regime to immediately refrain from the use of violence against the peaceful protesters. This letter goes to Canadian government. Down, down, NCP!
Down, down, NCP!
Down, down, NCP!
Down, down, NCP!
Sudan regime to ICC!
Sudan regime to ICC!
Sudan regime to ICC!
Sudan regime to ICC! حرية سلام وعدالة والثورة خيار الشعب. 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 حرية سلام وعدالة والثورة خيار الشعب.
يا مالك الله وعدين نفعتم معاه إنه الكلام ممنوع في شلة الحكام. يا والدة دم فول لما البلد تغلي، لما العساكر دايم الشوه الإسلام جايبين تفاهاتهم، سجنونا بس مدين، حرقونا بس مدين، حرقونا بس مدين، قتلونا بس مدين. الدين بريء يما، الدين بدون الزام، هنخلى حقه بموت، بيخاوي في شيطان. الدين بيقول نمرق، الدين بيقول نمرق، نمرق نجيب في الطين ونواجه الحكام. الدين بيقول الزام، حكام غلط منكر، ما بنكتم مسكوت، انت الغلط 60. الدين بيقول الزام، شاب غلط منكر، ما بنكتم مسكوت. جوز السجن بيغرب في بلدنا، جوز السجن بيغرب في خيرنا ويتمتع. جوز السجن بيغرب في خيرنا ويتمتع. احنا السجانة النيل بيتمن الفاير، ضمن الكتم مسكوت في وجع من جاير. الخوف عديم الساعة، انا جدتي فراقة عبد كان داكا عبد الفضيل المال والناس يشيلوا الراس. الطلقة ما بتكتب
بكل سكان الجو
يا طالع الثورة لي معاك دولة تدفع تجرينا نمرك تداوينا وتوفر المطلوب في السبحة والشينا ندفع كمان غيرك كمان جيشنا حرسنا تحمينا ما فيهم إرهابي ما فيهم إرهابي لا أمن لا غيره انت حمينا شعبي لا أمن لا غيره
ثورة. ثورة. ثورة.
كل الوجع واحد
ثورة.
كل البلد واحد
ثورة.
كل الأمل واحد
ثورة.
تسقط تسقط بس
تسقط 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 بس
تسقط 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 بس
تسقط تسقط بس سقطت يا كيزان سقطت يا كيزان
البشير وICC
البشير وICC
تسقط 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 بس
البشير وICC
تسقط 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 بس
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 تسقط تسقط تسقط